You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
How's everybody doing this week?
All right. David Hall.
Hello.
Greg Hectus.
Hey, guys.
Kyle Pendergraft.
Hello, everybody.
And Tony Groves. And Tony Groves. And Tony Groves. Oh, he's really there. The
hey,
there he is.
Jeez.
Welcome, everybody. The iRacing Coke Series is back again this week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Evan Pasoko will join us to break down all the details, including some interesting post-race controversy. Also, David sat down to interview a brand new iRacers Lounge podcast partner.
And remember, you can follow along with us on your mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself the great topics and products that we discuss visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. Hope to see you there.
After a complete new build, Grid Finder 2.0 is here and better than ever. Along with a brand new look, Grid Finder has made league searching even easier and much more enjoyable by adding more search options for the driver and giving league owners a better way to promote their league features and making it easier to connect with drivers with the brand new Join Now button. Make sure to check out www.grid-finder.com to find your place on the grid. Visit gridfinder.com to find a league or to upload your own. Grid Finder is the home of online sim racing leagues.
Well, let's talk Indy 500 iRacing style. We have the top split winner. It was Brandon Traino. He's the real world tire changer for Joe Gibbs Racing, and he won his third consecutive top split 500 this weekend.
That's amazing. I mean, it's such a competitive race too. And for him to win, 3 times in a row in the top split. And the other thing about the Indy 500 is you have to qualify in on speed to get that top split. It's not a traditional iRating situation. Do you guys know what team he does the tires for? It just said Joe Gibbs, didn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't say which driver.
Yeah, could even be Xfinity or trucks too, really. But that's a pretty impressive resume, because that thing is hard to win, right? To win it once, yet alone 3 times in a row, that's pretty serious.
Yeah, there's definitely some guys that really live for this race, and he must be one of them. But, yeah, congratulations, Brandon Traino. They did some nice social media on Twitter. He put up some pictures of him doing the burnouts on the bricks. And then iRacing did a nice feature article about him winning his 3rd straight top split Indy 500.
I don't suppose iRacing has any kind of awards for something like that, do they?
I don't know, but if I was IMS, the Indy Motor Speedway, or Roger Penske, who owns the Indianapolis, racing series, I would do something, and jump on that bandwagon, send him a quart of milk, for God's sake, and some roses to put around his neck, and let him, take a whole swig of the milk kind of thing. It'd probably cost him a couple $100 or something. It'd be money well spent.
So iRacing actually posted a poll on their Twitter account, and they asked, where did you finish in this weekend's iRacing Indy 500? So what's kind of interesting is the choices are not like, top 10, top 5. It's first or somewhere else. So there were 1,650 votes, and 27.2% said they finished first. Now, if my math is correct, that comes to 448 people said that they finished first in one of this weekend's Indy 500. I don't think there's been that many splits or races this weekend. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but if you play with the numbers a little bit, I finished first lap, first turn, if that counts.
How many of them went to their wives and told them that they finished first when they asked? Maybe that's what it is.
Their wives don't need to be told.
What I was thinking is this kind of tells you how accurate some of these polls are, right? These Twitter polls.
Good point. It's like this is the fishing story of iRacing Indy 500 results.
Well, let's switch gears from the Indy 500 and let's talk NASCAR. Evan Pasoko, voice of eNASCAR, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on and talking about that Indy 500. That was a fun race to be on the call for the first time.
And Brandon Trano, so that was the guy. And what do you know about him? Anything?
Well, I know that he's not exclusively an IndyCar guy. He's been on the sim for quite some time. I've been, in the same circle-ish as him. I commentated on some races that he was at way back. So he's a longtime vet of the service. And I was relatively unaware of his apparent dominance headed into that event. Of course, I was a late call-up to fill in on the broadcast. But, I just found it interesting that we had never gone, you've never seen any repeat winners in the top split, the feature race of the iRacing Indianapolis 500 up until when he won back-to-back last year, right, with 19 and 20, and then to get 3 in a row is really cool. I know that he's done a ton of stuff. I heard you guys talking about his work as a Cup Series tire changer, and I believe he's done some stuff in some of the lower ranks as well. So Brandon's a good guy, and happy to see him make some history.
Yeah. Something else. So let's talk the Coke race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the longest race of the year. Let's jump into it. Lap 1, we have caution already. Derek Justice got loose, clipped John Gorlinski, and the duo spun off turn 4. Then lap 8, it was Femi Olat continued to battle Mitchell for second. Lap 15, Ray Alfala running 10th. Earlier today, he tweeted that panic mode has been activated, and he was going full send.
Yeah, Ray, Femi, there was a lot of drivers. Zach Novak was up in the mix, right, for seemingly the first time this year, fighting, with a car that looked like it could win the race. As he would go on to get his first top 5 of the year. So there was a lot of guys, Ray included in that, who had their best performances of the year in this Charlotte race. And I would have thought going into it that those drivers would have had that opportunity based on, it's a long race. Some drivers wreck out. You get different strategies, and that's how people cycle through. But a lot of guys just had speed that hadn't had that level of speed yet this year. So that was cool to see. But, with the wreck rate off of the bat, this was a much messier Coke 300 than last year's, right, where we only had 1 yellow. Our total number for this one ended up being 7. And that was a big I don't want to say hindrance, but a big factor in what happened with strategy in the race itself.
Yeah, Brad Davies gets 2 laps down after a penalty for pit road violations. As we cycle into the green flag stuff, with the first to pit, it was lap 50, Nick Ottinger, then lap 53, Mullis, Novak, and others, and then lap 54, leader Keegan Leahy pits from the lead.
Yeah, Keegan was the dominant car in the first half of this one, right? Started on pole position, led for much of it, and at this point, we did start to see a little bit of strategy. Some drivers coming down to pit road, and we had the discussion: do you go for the 3-stopper? Do you go for the 2-stopper? I was kind of hoping we didn't get yellows, right? I mean, yellows sometimes can have a benefit of bunching people up and making the race exciting, but I was really interested in how those pit cycles were going to play out. Because I thought that was really going to be the only hope for somebody to get around Keegan, because he looked great in that opening half.
Yeah, other drama we got to see during those green flag stops. Steven Wilson speeding on pit road, getting in. That's a stop and hold for him. Lost a ton, and he was running good. And then trouble for Logan Clampett. He just barely tags those barrels entering pit road. I mean, another couple millimeters, and he would have been in trouble for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Charlotte doesn't get the recognition, I think, as one of the tougher pit road entries that it should. There's a lot of tracks where that pit road kind of slices off of the racing surface much earlier. And you can, get a little bit closer to the apron before you start slowing down. But especially now with that pit wall, which wasn't always there, it's a tricky pit lane entry, and it caused headaches. Speeding penalties, clamp it into the barrels, people getting run over on pit cycles. I mean, it was a messy night for pit stops, which, makes sense when you sit down and think about Charlotte, but wasn't really something that I thought was going to be an issue going into the night. We hadn't really talked about it until it seemed like every pit cycle, somebody had some sort of an issue.
Yeah, so lap 82, it was 30 laps later that the green flag cycle had finally finished. Keegan cycles back to the lead, Novak then Mullis. Top 9 are on a 3-stop strategy, while Vicente Salas was cooking, leading the 2-stoppers.
Yeah, in a great spot, I think, to win the race. There's no way to look into my crystal ball and tell you if the 3-stopper or the 2-stopper would have won it. But I think Vicente was making a great call. Already with a race win this year, it seems like now with 9 different race winners, that there's going to be a race winner that doesn't make the playoff grid. So those race winners need to start thinking about points, and maybe that's where you gamble a little bit more, because there's 2 different mentalities. One, you can realize you're going to need points and you can points race, or 2, you realize if you get a second win, you're home free. And I like to call by Vicente to go a little bit off strategy. I talked about some of those other drivers who, had their best 1.5 mile speed all year in this Charlotte race, and he was one of them. And that's kind of what I was alluding to, but I said I wish the strategy would have played out, because a majority of the field on the 2-stopper against that group of 9, as you mentioned, led by Keegan on the 3. I thought it was going to be a fun storyline to watch, but the yellow flag would change that.
Well, that's it. So cautions breed cautions, and we definitely proved that. But like you said, it was up to that point, it was playing out to be the 2 and the 3-stop strategy, and very interesting. But then it all changed. Caution lap 106, Ryan Duchette, he crashed hard. Monitor went out on the backstretch, and he lost control and crashed. Then it was trouble for Vicente Salas. He had to pit the second time around and loses all his track position. It was Jimmy Mullis, Nick Ottinger, Bobby Zielinski, Garrett Lowe, and others took the wave around.
Yeah, that was a weird issue with Vicente, where he had gotten so far, just based on positioning, and how that cycled through. He had the pace car by, and I guess sometimes the pace car does 150 miles an hour to catch up, and sometimes it only does 60, right? I don't know what makes it to do what, but he was too far ahead of it that he basically came to a stop in turn 4 because pit road was open, but he obviously could not pit in front of the pace car, or that would be pitting out of position, and it would have been a black flag. So he eventually coasted past pit road before the pace car passed him, and then everybody else obviously behind the pace car pitted. He wasn't able to, and he got caught out. And that was far from the only trials and tribulations that Vicente went through in this race, because this would force him to go to the back. He would drive his way up to the front, got a penalty, would go back to the rear again and drive through the field. So I think Vicente probably passed more cars than anybody in the field tonight. But just a shame that the luck wasn't on his side, because it would have been a great story if he could have been the first repeat winner.
Yeah, and then more restarts and cautions, 91 to go. It was Keegan Leahy, Casey Kerwin lead the field into turn 1. And then new leader Casey Kerwin actually clears Keegan at 88 to go. And then Matheson gets loose and spins on the backstretch. Derek Justice, Bob Bryant also making contact, slowing for the wreck. And then another restart with the X-Set team 1-2. It was Casey Kerwin, Ryan Luza side by side with 75 to go.
And at this point, there was a little bit of strategy left, because with that much time in the race, we were thinking, Is it going to be close enough for drivers to make it on fuel? A couple of drivers would then top off after that quick yellow and make it a 4-lap difference or so. And I think we talked to Casey on the broadcast, and he thought he was going to be a little bit short because he would have been leading and unable to save anything. So there was still a question of strategy into this back half of the race. But certainly once Keegan dropped off of that top position, we just didn't see him get back out and dominate like he did in the first half.
And after we thought we saw the biggest big one at Coda, we get another big wreck. It's caution. Luza gets loose up front, in front of the field, and Maines hits the wall hard, and it was just a hugest wreck.
Yeah, they just ran out of space in 3 and 4, and Garrett ended up again into that pit wall off of turn 4 that is new after the Roval reconfiguration to the track and lost the front end of his car. And you're right, they tried to make it big at Coda, but that was one of the bigger intermediate wrecks. Normally the wrecks don't get that big on tracks like this because you can just drive through the grass or drive down pit road, or if it's on the backstretch, go down to the apron. Because of that wall, it really did block the racetrack. And you had alluded to it earlier, cautions breeding cautions. It was a messy Coke 300 this year, but that's where drivers, had the opportunity to top off, some of them getting some repairs, and I think would have assisted anybody at that point to get to the end.
Yeah, so restart, 67 to go. It's Casey Kerwin, Malik Ray up front, and then a few laps later, Keegan retakes the lead from Casey Kerwin. It's Vicente Salas. He has finally climbed back up to the 4th position. And then, Malik Ray was running 3rd. And then up front, Keegan Leahy is holding nothing back as it stands. They're all racing for 2nd. And Keegan was just kind of driving away at that point, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's actually when he got his biggest advantage of the race, right? So he led most of his lap earlier in the race. Didn't lead it, for the first quarter, but was pretty strong at that half. And at this point, finds himself cycling back to the lead. We know, of course, he's going to have the speed out in front of the field and was pulling away. But to be honest, I never had the feeling when that was happening like the race was over. With the yellows that we had seen, I just didn't think that they were going to hold on to it to the end of the race. And Keegan certainly would have appreciated if they did, because that was probably one of the larger intervals for the top spot we saw all night. But for whatever reason, there was almost a sense of inevitability that, we weren't going to get to the end on that run, at least from our perspective.
Yep, and then caution again. It's Ashton Crowder as he tries to pit and gets ran over by Jimmy Mullis, who had no idea because Ashton did not call it out. In fact, I think in the interview he was saying he didn't even look up to make sure, or something like that. He was hoping that they would miss him kind of thing or something like that. But anyway, it was a huge wreck. Mitchell was involved, Blade Witt as well. So that was a bad deal.
Yeah, that's the continuing issues on pit road, and I think the story was he said that he may have said he was pitting over the radio and admitted that he said it a little bit late. Certainly he didn't say it over text because I was able to check the text chat to see if there was a missed signal there. But and you heard Ashton say that it's kind of funny that the system is you can pit from the bottom lane of the racetrack, and as long as you give a heads up, you kind of just expect that the guys behind you are going to get around you. So I don't think that was a Charlotte-specific issue. I think that's just not giving the guys behind you enough of a heads up. Not that not that it's 110% his fault, but I think that you do need to give the guys behind you as much of a heads up as possible. We've seen incidents where people do give 2 laps a heads up and they still get run over. So it's not a guarantee that saying something over voice chat's going to help you out. But I think Ashton probably, in retrospect, would have wanted to give him a little bit more time on that one.
Yeah, and this is about the point of the race that the space station people and the Malik Ray fan group about ready to lose their mind because he's up there battling for the lead with Keegan Leahy, 32 to go. And then another caution. It's Chris Sherburne. He gets loose clearing up, and Brad Davies gets annihilated. Vicente Salas' night goes from bad to worse as he took damage as well.
Yeah, that's just the kick in the gut for him, right? Had driven through the field just to drop back, just to drive through the field again, just to get wrecked out. So not going to help Vicente out in the points, but I think that team's got a lot to be happy about. I think the best, aside from the fact that he literally led every single lap in his win, and that's the first time anybody's ever done that in an oval race in this series, and we talked about that quite in depth after that Richard race. Aside from that obvious point, I think it was by far Space Station's strongest performance on an intermediate this year.
Yep, and then the fever pitch for Malik Ray goes up at 27 to go as he takes the lead, and the big one behind him. Space Station actually said on Twitter, Malik has taken the lead while they wreck behind him. As Keegan loses the lead out to Malik after getting loose, Isaac Gann also gets loose, loses it, and Bobby Zielinski and more are involved.
Yeah, Keegan, I was almost joking like there was oil on the track, right? Keegan got loose, and then where the wreck actually happened a couple rows back, somebody else got loose to kick it off. It just everybody got loose in the corner. And Keegan was able to save it, but he would fall from the race lead down to fourth position. And that handed things off to Malik with a real good opportunity, seemingly with the speed to get the job done. Not to, spoil it for those who may not have missed the race, but of course, it's a race that Ray Alfalo goes on to win. At this point, I don't think we had even considered Ray as a threat, right? He had speed all night, don't get me wrong, but at this point in the race, we're thinking it's going to be Malik Ray or Leahy is going to come back through the field, or it's going to be somebody else that finished up at the front of this one. It could be Luza just as easily, could have been Novak. I know we mentioned some of the other names as well, Casey, but at this point, late in the race, Ray's not even on our radar.
Exactly. Yeah, he's hanging out and saving tires, I believe, because it's 22 to go on this restart. It's Malik Ray and teammate Ryan Luza as they lead the field. Get Michael Guest third, Leahy was fourth, and Ray Alfalo fifth. And they were side by side up front for 3 laps in a row. I think it was Ryan Luza trying to take the lead from Malik on the outside, but Malik eventually holds it. And you noticed when we were watching the camera of Malik, he was taking his hands off the wheel,
bold,
down the front stretch or down the back stretch, like to take a break kind of thing, because he was so focused or something.
Yeah, it was crazy. I've seen people, take a hand off the wheel to fist pump coming to the line. I don't think I've ever seen somebody take both hands off the wheel while they're still fighting to defend the race lead. That was pretty crazy. And, Malik's one of the most colorful characters in the series. You watch any of his Twitch streams, it's a blast to watch him on Twitch and his reactions, and really how much it means to him to fight for wins with the emotion that he shows. So we got a couple of real good looks on the onboards there, but I can't say I've ever seen somebody take both hands off the wheel in the middle of a fight for the lead like that.
And, looking back at it, I feel like this was the moment of the race where it turned, because both Malik Ray and Ryan Luza burned up their tires fighting each other for the lead. I believe, because 12 to go, Ryan actually reported that he burned up his tires and he started fading. And then Michael Guest also had problems with overheating. I don't know, maybe he taped it up on one of the stops. I don't know. And then 11 to go, Alfalo clears Michael Guest for third. And then Ray Alfalo gets to Luza. And then 8 to go, he gets to Malik. And then 7 to go, Ray Alfalo gets the lead and pulls it away and wins it. His first win in, I think it was 364 days.
Yeah, almost to the date. Since his last win last year, almost a calendar year, getting the race win on Tuesday the 25th, and his last win was May 26th of last year. So almost a year to the date, 364 days later, and now Ray is a winner, and I think the something like the 11th different season or something like that. I'd have to double check that, but 19 was the only season that he hadn't won a race in. So good to see him get back into victory lane. Obviously exciting to see that we have a 9th different winner in 9 starts. It continues to be a historic year, but on his charge through the field, he must have done a great job of saving, because he got by those guys with ease, right? We saw so many times tonight drivers able to defend up on the outside of the racetrack and maybe not necessarily fight off a battle, but at least, give them trouble for 2 to 3 laps. And Alfalo just drove by him like it was nothing. And you could see pretty clearly, I think for the sake of the storyline, we were hoping that maybe Malik could get back to him and challenge for the lead. But you saw Malik knew when Ray looked up top, that didn't happen because the lap traffic thought, all right, this is maybe going to help Malik. Ray gets to the bottom, gets past him, and you can see Malik's reaction. I think at that point he knew he didn't have the car to mount any sort of a counter challenge, and it was pretty much done as soon as he cleared him.
Yeah, you could see the enthusiasm come out of Malik Ray's face when he knew Ray was pulling away and he wasn't going to catch him. But it was a feel-good story to see Ray get back to victory lane with all the trials and tribulations that he's had through this year and even last year. It's nice to see him rally and to see if he can make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, and, he's going to have the point that we made closing the broadcast is that the points for the win, ironically, are more important than the win itself, right? Because Ray was 36th, and he's still 31st. It is a big challenge. I believe he's about 35 points out of the top 20. Is that doable in 5 races? Absolutely. He's got a real good opportunity to do it. But I don't think he can have 2 races where he's finishing down in the 20s. He's going to need to have this speed night in, night out. Right. Again, it's not like he can just get second win that a Vicente or somebody else could get and lock themselves in. It doesn't matter if you got 5 wins. As long as you're not top 20, you don't get in. So that's going to be a fun storyline to follow. Ray mentioned that panic mode button was pushed. He sent it and got a win. Hopefully he's got a couple more of those to push over the next few weeks. It would be an incredible comeback for how poor his first half of the year was if he can pull this thing off.
Well, you know what? I was thinking Ray's being pretty ballsy. He's like almost calling his shot here before the race when he said that. And for him to close the deal and get it done, I'm very impressed, Ray. Now, the next thing, Evan, is, so that was Tuesday. Let's fast forward to today. And, Evan, you were one of the first people to public announce on Twitter that the Coke Race Series has now added a drop week. And let's talk about how the points implications will play out. Later in the show, we're going to talk about the logistics of why there's a drop week and Tony Gardner's response about what that's all about.
Yeah, so this is going to be a really interesting dynamic, right? So iRacing released a statement that they took a look and found some differences in some of the aerodynamics that were assigned to the Cup Series Camaro that weren't assigned to the Camry and to the Mustang. And iRacing has since said in further statements, you talked about that Tony Gardner statement, where iRacing said that it was a future aero package or draft model aero kit, whatever the physics are that they assigned to that race car that was accidentally put on it, and we didn't notice it because we raced at a road course last week. So I guess the whole story is, they didn't really know about this until just before race time, and that's why we saw some drivers change manufacturers. Others didn't because of contract obligations between teams and sponsors and Chevrolet. But just a weird thing that we've never seen before. And because of that, you talk about the drop. So iRacing is going to add a drop week to the regular season. So instead of us counting 14 weeks and all of those points going towards it, each driver's lowest finish is going to be removed. That could help somebody like a Ray Alfala, who has had several instances where he has not had a very good night out, right? So this could play into his favor, but in theory, it's going to help everybody, right? So it might help this driver more than that driver or this guy more than that guy. It's not going to be totally even, but if you take everybody's worst race out, roughly, it's going to help everybody a little bit, right? So I think it is going to have some point implications. I don't think it's going to be huge, but if it swings 5 or 10, which I think is going to be about the range where it makes a difference, that final position could certainly be in the 5 to 10 point range. So just because the point implication itself isn't going to be huge doesn't mean the product of that change isn't going to be consequential. So it'll be something interesting, certainly, to follow through the end of the year. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, and could have an impact on who ends up in the playoffs, depending on those margins. And, of course, if we see more than one, I guess, different race winner, if we get to that magic number 11, then those race winners are going to start looking at what is my worst results of the year. It could certainly help out guys that are, not the road course guys. You're going to drop off your worst road finish. Could help in a guy that gets in a wreck at a plate track. There is no real template to say who it's going to benefit and who it isn't. But it'll make a small change in the points, not huge. But that small difference could be the difference between someone fighting for a championship or being top 20.
Evan, does that... Hold on.
Very interesting.
Mike, while he was talking there, does that going to make it difficult on that last race for you to figure out, like, how you had the points standings changing as the race is going on? Is it going to be harder for you guys to follow that in race?
Probably basically impossible. We had just gotten that ability, of course, to do the live points, right? And I don't think what we can do is we can basically show the points when we get to Michigan, including all the drops. And we can probably do our research and say, these are the points with the drops. And then I'll probably go through and look at what each driver's worst result is. But I don't think we're going to have any way, because of this change, to do live points at the end of the year. We'll certainly have the information and give it our best shot. And we'll probably have the official points not that long after the race ends. But it'll make our math up top certainly a little bit more complicated, which, I'm looking at a lot of numbers as is normally. So it'll be an interesting challenge. But yeah, it'll make things a little bit more difficult for us.
Yeah, the calculators will be burning for sure.
I'll get one for each hand, and we'll do our best.
Well, it's certainly interesting, and we'll talk some more about the implications of the Chevy there later in the show. Evan, let's talk to the future. What do we expect on the next race, and what do we got coming up?
We got a bunch of time off, right? We just went for 2 weeks in a row, and we have the next 3 weeks off. So enjoy a bit of a break on Tuesday nights, kind of our de facto summer break, if you will. And then we got 3 races until the All-Star race. So we're going to be back for another doubleheader 2 weeks in a row, June the 22nd at Pocono. That's going to be a 90-lap race. Another road course race at Road America on the 29th of June, a week off, and then New Hampshire on July the 13th. So Pocono's one of those unique tracks where it doesn't have much implication in terms of, if someone's good at Pocono, what can we read into that, right? None of the playoff tracks are like Pocono. It's very a standoff race. Could be an opportunity for one of those mid-pack drivers to really figure something out and get a win. 90 laps in Pocono can be long, though. So that race might have a tad of attrition. I still don't think these guys have quite got it 110% with how these cars specifically drive at Pocono with this current package. So it'll be a fun one. And, of course, why quit talking about it now? We've been doing it for a few months. Could we get a 10th different winner in 10 weeks? There's only one spot available in the playoffs based on points. Of course, that's with a big if. That is if Ray Alfala can get to the top 20. So technically speaking, he's not in the playoffs yet. Guest and Wilson would be the number 9 and 10 seeds as the points sit right now based on points.
Yeah, and I'm going to be looking at Steven Wilson as a winner for Pocono. I think he's hot right now. And
he was great at Charlotte, too.
Yeah. So we'll be watching him, and we'll see you after the break, Evan. Thanks for coming.
Sounds good, guys. Happy to jump in.
Take care. Let's do a deep dive, guys, into the Chevy deal. Timing, it happened, like Evan said, about an hour before the race. Some of the drivers noticed, told iRacing about it. They went ahead with the race, and then we ended up with a patch that was announced. And basically, it said in the release notes, multi-car drafting performance for this car has been adjusted on oval tracks, and it was only the Chevrolet Camaro A car, not the Ford or the Toyota. Now, before we dive into all the details, guys, we've always operated, ever since I've been in NASCAR on iRacing, I've been told that there's no difference between the Ford, the Toyota, or the Chevy. You can pick any of them, and it's just a graphical difference. And we've lived on that for years. And now all of a sudden, we learn that it's actually possible that that's not true. And in this case, we went almost a month with it not being true. So what are your thoughts about that?
I think it started becoming a thing when these cars started having side drafting and stuff, probably, right? Like, it's once the aero changed where we are starting to be able to manipulate the air, they're going to have their own different characteristics or something there. And obviously there's always going to be code for 3 different chassis, but like they said in the one thing, they actually just clicked a setting and it went into the download and got downloaded by everybody. So all it was is basically just a file type that went in. It doesn't mean it's their cars are different. It just means for that car they just had clicked the wrong package on for it.
And I believe the date for the change was the 17th, so it wasn't quite a month. It was 10 days. It happened during COTA week.
So there isn't as far as timing goes, I mean, we had a nice video from David Childhouse, who's a spotter for Parker Kligerman Coke team, basically detailing out what the issue was, what the timing of it was. He was critical, and I think correctly, of iRacing and their lack of communication about the issue. But there's a lot of players involved, and I can understand why it might took them till Thursday to announce anything publicly about this, and they did earlier today. We do have a letter here from Tony Gardner I'm going to read in a moment, but what about the timing, guys, of communication? I mean, should they have come out sooner? I mean, a lot of people were thinking, why are they being silent about this? Is this how they're going to roll, Well, the answer of why is pretty simple. Money, right? At first, I didn't think they should have even gone with the race, and I'm still not sure that just putting in a drop week is a completely equitable solution, because every one of the Chevys is basically having to use their drop week, right? But it came down to money. It was a situation where they got a show to put on, and that show outweighed letting everybody know that there was a problem. They had no problem announcing that there was a problem with the Dallara jet car, right? They had that running on the banner. I was running an Open race at the same time the Coke race was going on, and was experiencing this very thing, because we had not gotten wind of this yet, but I ran a race and was struggling with this loose end condition. And Morley usually goes back and looks at my telemetry, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're not driving in deep enough." And I told him, "Well, I can't drive in any deeper because it's unstable." And then about 30 minutes later, because he's usually looking the next morning at the telemetry, he's like, "Oh, look at this." And it is exactly what happened, because after the patch, I did not have that loose end problem.
Now, the other thing, like, what if this didn't occur in the Coke race? What if they found this afterwards, did the thing, and people were complaining about it? Do you think they would have apologized, or is it only the apology happening because it happened in the Coke race?
I think they apologized.
Think they would have.
Yeah, I think they apologized because it was public, whether it was the Coke race or not. They came out and apologized when they had the trouble with the Daytona launching, right? Remember that fiasco?
And you gotta remember they have partners. They have NASCAR, they have Chevy, Ford, Toyota. I'm sure that these guys were going as fast as they can to make sure all the shareholders are involved in the discussion before anything public is announced. So I'm going to go ahead and read the apology letter. It's got a lot of good information, and I think it's worth it. So I'm just going to read it, and it's from Tony Gardner, the CEO. He says, "Good day. I want to sincerely apologize to the members, especially those who complete in series that involve the NASCAR Cup cars. Drivers in the Chevy Camaro ZL1 We're at a slight disadvantage to the Toyota and Ford cars in that series since May 5th, 2021, especially at tracks in which aero matters more. All the NASCAR Cup cars have identical physics, or at least they did up until May 5th. What happened on May 5th is we accidentally checked in a development aero file into a patch intended to be a member patch for the Chevy Cup car only. There are hundreds of files that we merge and don't merge when we do a software update. We are extremely diligent and have a very solid process when we are selecting files for member updates. In fact, I can't even remember this happening. It is also why we moved from test environment to test environment and finally to members, testing and doing QA along the way, obviously. For major updates, we branch off from all other development for weeks before a build as another protection. For small patches, the timing works differently, obviously, and it is why those updates are very small and focused and conservative and aimed mainly at fixing bugs. The error was not caught in QA and on the member site for almost a month. When we screwed up and are reviewing our file merge process and policies, we can take the process a step further, and we will as another safeguard.
So I was wrong with the date I was given of the 17th, going all the way back to the May 5th. Doesn't that affect both Darlington and Dover as well?
Yep.
But he said it only affected the other thing because it could be just a certain, like a 1.5 mile track it gets triggered at or something like that. A certain distance track it gets triggered at.
Well, yeah, actually, because Dover and Darlington were both the low downforce package, right?
Yeah.
Now, from a software development company point of view, I want to point something out. There's a lot of haters out there that probably say they should do better and they shouldn't screw this up. And I'll say to them, if you want a company that's going to promise not to do that, there's going to be a lot more Q&A. There's going to be a lot less releases. They're going to be a lot less agile to changes on the fly that NASCAR and other series actually require these days. And we're blessed to have a development company that can react so quickly. They found this problem Tuesday night. They had it fixed, by, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. So the timing, even though, they might miss some stuff sometimes, I think the trade-off is still worth it. I think it's better for them to be agile and to get changes out quick.
Well, and anybody that wants to complain about having this, this problem, look down. You're probably looking at your phone reading this and realizing you either have a Samsung or an Apple who automatically slow their phones down on updates permanently to do things. Like there's this company cares about their product. There's other companies out there doing things to you, and you guys and people look it over. So, in 15 years, that's the worst thing that they've had happen. I mean, you gotta realize it's gonna happen. Things like this happen.
Yep. So let's talk some more of the letter here. I'm going to read. It says, about an hour before the Coke race Tuesday night, drivers notified us there was a problem, scrambling to verify the problem and communicate. With the feedback we had in 15 years of experience of making these occasional decisions, we made the call to run the race. Understandably, we could always void the results after the fact. We decided to let the results stand, but added a drop week. So let's break here and talk. Is that the right thing to do in this situation? I think it's reasonable.
I think
what else could they do?
The drop week's a band-aid. It's not. No one. You weren't going to have anybody happy about it. I mean, if they're off for the next couple of weeks, you think they could have just rescheduled the next week. But then we're talking about you got sponsors and all that other obligations that they have going on. So maybe they didn't really have a choice to. They said they do, but there is some implications of things could go bad for them, maybe money-wise, if they're not careful.
And does the drop week also account for the fact that it's when you're in, as long as you're in the top 20 in points, right? The Chevys had no chance to win in this race. So it's not really a valid race.
Would have been better to postpone the race a day or a week. I mean, considering they have 3 weeks off, they could have probably postponed it and got away with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with David on this. If they were pretty sure there was a problem, like he says in the letter, an hour before the Coke race, if they know there's a problem that could affect the balance for the race, I think you gotta postpone it or do something like that. It's too much is on the line, and I understand they probably has sponsorship issues and all that stuff, but I don't think that would be as much of a detriment to postpone it as it would be to have a race count in essence in your overall standings that wasn't done with equal cars throughout the field. And I kind of think that should have been postponed.
Yeah, we're talking about a $300,000 prize pool too. I mean, there's some serious money on the line here.
Now my question is, does that kind of leave it open to the feeling like if all of a sudden one car's stronger each week, are they going to question it? Are guys going to put the same setup in 3 different cars and see each time they practice which one's going to be the fastest car?
Hell yeah. I see Mike Marley doing that already, probably. Because now can we trust it? That's the whole thing. That's what I was started this out with, is we've always trusted that they've been the same. And now we have an inkling that there's a chance it can't be the same. So do we need to test for it to make sure? Because we don't want to trust it. I mean, it's one of those deals. All right, I'm going to get into the last part of the letter here, the apology portion, basically. He says, we're transparent with the drivers' teams and posted on the private forums yesterday morning and had a call yesterday with NASCAR, and we apologize to them as well. I just want to apologize to everyone who was involved in that series and to all members who have competed with those cars since May 5th. It was just a simple mistake, and we have no excuse. It is now fixed on members. The integrity of the competition is super important to us, as is continuing to improve the quality of the sim. If anything, we are adding even more resources aimed at these objectives. We hope you will notice the results in the month and years to come. Again, our apologies and thank you for being members. We know you have many choices. We will be working hard as ever to continue to improve iRacing. Tony Gardner, the president.
So you have to take into account the 24-hour news cycle and how everything is so instant in the internet world today. They really actually did respond to it fairly quickly, even though for, about 12 hours of there, it seemed like they were kind of sweeping it under the rug, but pretty quickly they were on top of it. On that token, I think the drop week is better than nothing. Though I would have preferred to see it not count or be rescheduled. But do bear in mind that they had to have a little bit of time to get it all put together instead of necessarily just instantly saying oops. Though those of us running Open on Tuesday nights, we're definitely experiencing the same problem.
Well, devil's advocate, if we did what you just said, David, how would Ray Alfala feel? Or Malik Ray, who finished second. I mean, and they would, to invalidate those results, I don't know if that's fair to them either.
But they're not having to race everybody. It was not a full field, basically.
Well, and the other thing is those two drivers are usually in the back half of the field, right? And all of a sudden they weren't last night.
Just chalk it up as it got rained out.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine, let's say something crazy happened, like an entire NBA team got food poisoning at the same location, right? And let's go with food poisoning, something more just that could easily just get everybody all at once. COVID has a lot longer period. Food poisoning will hit you instantly. So is the NBA going to make them play when they're all, puking out both sides?
No, they just postpone it like they've done with a lot of stuff this year with sports. You push it back a night. Like, what would have 1 week done? Like, it should have been run next Tuesday, in my opinion. Do you not all think?
Especially when they have a 3-week gap. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right?
Exactly. It's not like where NASCAR, they got to move teams around and move equipment around. Everything's in people's houses. It's not a big deal to reschedule that a week.
And I think people would have been understanding about it too. Hey, the live feed is about to go live. We could have Evan and team come on and just explain to the audience, hey, this isn't happen. We're going to reschedule.
Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. I don't have my sim rig reserved next week.
Now, did this not, like, they found out about this about an hour before the race start, correct?
Right.
Right. So it's not a whole lot of time to react.
That's true. Especially when there's those other players, NASCAR and Chevy and.
Yeah. And, an hour out, it's pretty well go time for all that stuff to kind of happen, right? So they probably just did what anybody else would have done and just tried to do the best that they could. You go back through like lots of different sports or sports entertainment. One that really pops out to my mind is WWE. Big Owen Hart tragedy. They went on. Was it the right call? Yeah, looking back on it, probably not. At the time, what do? It is what it is, right? Yeah, it sucks for the Chevy guys, 100%. But chalk it up. I would just chalk it up to a rain delay or rain out, and move on. They're doing something. They reacted, fairly quick. Did what they could do.
Okay, let's transition to the next one. Kyle, this is very interesting. The history of iRacing.
Yeah, so looks like we got Traxi on. Not too sure who that actually is, to be honest. Has said a story about the history of the development of Papyrus leading up to it's now called iRacing. Going through the transition, I mean, it's actually really interesting. I started reading through some of it just a little bit ago, just kind of one, refresh myself on it, and two, just learn a few things. And it's actually really informative, and it's neat to see the transition from back in the day when it first started out as IndyCar racing, and it's worked its way all the way up to iRacing now.
Who has played the original IndyCar racing? Like the IndyCar racing was actually pretty good on. I really liked it because it was the only one that had the could have Toronto. It was the first time you saw like a Canadian track or something like that. Besides F1 games that were really not state of the art at the time either, that would have Montreal on it.
Look at that pixelated pagoda. Yeah, it definitely brings back some memories. But this is a fascinating, long article about the history of iRacing, basically, and he delves into, David Kamer and John Henry, what happened before they got started with iRacing, how they worked on these other titles with Papyrus and so forth, and just a timeline, who was involved and what happened, and it's lots of details. This is actually written by Justin Melillo, who we've talked about a lot on the show. In fact, he provides a lot of the information I use for the Coke race. So thank you to Justin. And boy, if you want to learn about the history, this is just a fascinating read.
Guys, I know Greg's been around a long time. Most of you guys have been around iRacing for a long time. I almost forget a time when iRacing was not affiliated with NASCAR. It was a weird thing at first where you had cars that didn't have any sanctioning bodies affiliated with them.
Yeah, there was a couple of years there where EA took some of the manufacturers and Papyrus didn't use manufacturers when EA was around for the NASCAR portion of it. But like even when they had like Grand Prix Legends, like that was one of the hardest sims to I found one of the hardest cars to control that I've ever raced in.
In the early days, there was only one Cup car, I do recall.
Well, if you look at that NASCAR 4 there, the image of it, that was one of the years they just had generic bodies. There was no manufactured nothing.
Yeah, even in the early days of iRacing, for a while, they only had one Cup car.
That's true, yeah, they had the SS.
I think I remember that. I think, yeah, that was right when I started. That was the only one, and then I remember it was a big deal when they added the Ford.
I'm pretty
And
sure
then the Toyota.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, guys, if you want to see some YouTube videos of these old Sims, what they look like, if you've never partaken in these games, if you might be a little too young or weren't into racing back then, it's worth your time to go and search some old video of these games. It's actually really fascinating to see how far it's come and how well they did for what the technology was at the time.
Well, and it's neat that we have a heritage to the sim. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's a history. It's a heritage. It's like your grandpa, you know. Pretty cool. Yeah, definitely check that out.
Speaking of Malillo, Tony, this next one comes from him as well.
Yeah, he was tweeting about this week's Coca-Cola 600, and with the lifting of COVID restrictions, NASCAR, in conjunction with the USO, fans can try to set their fastest times at the bunch of iRacing rigs. Looks like they can even do it with the assistance of several Coke eNASCAR series drivers that are going to be there. And they're going to donate the play seat sims when they're all done.
Oh, donate here. I wonder where they're going to donate them to. That's pretty cool.
The nice thing about those is those are the ones
like this in Nashville.
Those are the ones that don't have that's the play seat that doesn't have the center pole in it for once too. It's the better ones.
Newer one, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty much out of the running for a donation of one of these.
Yeah, you're on a do not send list.
Well,
They probably won't even let you run the rig at the site.
Canada won't even let you
You're
bring it
behind
in.
desk waiting for you to come.
And so I'll tell you what the rig looks like. It's a tubular rig, and it's got a really nice wraparound kind of racing seat, but blue with a red and white stripe on it and a big old NASCAR Salutes logo on the back. The other unique thing about the rig is it's built on like a large wooden black box with a big play seat logo along the side. We see a picture here of at least 4 of these rigs. So we know there's going to be several of them. So, hey, if you're out at Charlotte Motor Speedway, go try to set a fast time, you know?
I can't believe they'd be giving away like $15,000 rigs.
You think they just keep them and take them track to track, you know? Now, if you look at the next, if you look at the Twitter that's below that one, the other picture, they have a CAD drawing of the layout of where they're going to have, the sim rigs, and it looks like it's a USO trailer. And so I don't know if the rigs are going to be inside the trailer or what, but there's a couple tents out front and then, lines for, the people to line up in, queues.
It looks like the rigs are underneath those tents, Mike.
Oh, I see.
I honestly don't think they'd go inside.
A little chaos.
Do you really want that people in a confined space with things going on? I know outside.
The tents, so that's probably 4.
Anybody that goes to that
like
race,
an
though.
Experience type of deal. Really cool. Guys, so if you weren't keeping up with it, there's 2 weeks left in the iRacing Road to Pro regular season, and Nicholas Morse on his Twitter page, he dropped some updates on how everything's progressing, and there are currently 7 drivers that are locked into round 2 after the Charlotte race. So Colin Keister, Brandon McCassick, Derek Bordeaux, Justin Bolton, Ethan Lane, Parker Retzlaff, and Will Norton are the 7 drivers who have punched their ticket to round 2 of the Road to Pro Series.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping up real well on the Road to Pro, but I'm interested in this round 2 because remember, these are going to be the snake splits for the first time in 8 years, 9 years. So we're going to have snake splits. It's going to be cool.
Snakes.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Colin Keister is probably the only previous pro driver, right?
Justin Bolton.
Bolton was too? Okay.
Well, somewhere in France, there's a race going on for almost 24 hours. Michaelette announced it. It's actually happening at the Majors 24 hour, and it's going on somewhere in northeast France, in fact, on June 12th through 13th. There's a lot of neat little details in here. They're actually going to have cautions in their top split, and it's not really like pay to get in, but it's pay to get the chance to get in. In fact, they're only taking 10 LMP1s, and then I think 20 LMP2s and 20 LMP or 20 GTEs. And you still have to qualify to get in depending on how many people try. But there's still the free option as well. Only the pay option top split will be broadcast, and only that split will have the cautions running.
So you have to pay to be in the top split?
You have to pay to try to get in the top split.
I see. And not then you can run the free version. You have to be in the Majors League, I take it. And yeah. So it's June 12th and 13th. Now, is this the only Le Mans 24 we're going to see, or is there going to be an official one, or is iRacing, looking to the majors to hold this for the community?
It's not a Le Mans. It's the Majors 24. Sorry, David.
Yeah. It's not a Le Mans.
Can't use that word.
Exactly. Yeah. You
What
should
word?
have even said it.
That word?
I'll probably have to edit it out.
We're getting canceled.
That's funny. We'll get a cease and desist, right?
Well, somebody was wondering if that certain company finds out, will they come after them? I don't think we're worried about that particular company listening to us, but yeah, it's just a shame. I hate that we're not actually getting to run the big official one.
Well, I don't know that we're not. I mean, I don't think they've announced one way or the other about that race yet, but they're running out of time. I mean, we're at the end of May.
Yeah, it's usually around the 20th, 25th of the month of June is when it is. Normally, I think, right? It's like the third week in June.
Well, I'm sure Mike doesn't want to conflict with any official iRacing event, so he's running his on the 12th, 13th. Maybe that leaves the next week for iRacing's event that they haven't announced yet.
They technically
I don't know.
could they just
It's hard to say if they're going to have one or not.
couldn't they just call it the iRacing 24 hours? Like, or 23 and a half or whatever.
They could rebrand it.
And why not?
They've hinted at that themselves when they talked about it. When they talked about it, they mentioned that they might have a race somewhere in France. That's why we keep making that joke. We're actually still in that joke, I think, from Greg West. But they probably have their lawyers looking at whether or not they can pull it off or not.
I hope so. I hate to be threatened like that. That's kind of stupid. We'll take legal action if you run your race. Well, we've had this track. We've had these cars. Why can't we run it?
I mean, iRacing owns the rights to the deck, correct?
Obviously, they have it.
They owned it at the time. I don't know.
Rename the race.
I don't know if they can have any actual rights to it after someone else. It's like, isn't it like the Disney movies that took like the Star Wars stuff now, and like Star Wars can only be shown, like it's all those rights. Is once somebody buys it and pays for it, they can take everything of that property they want.
They've been able to run the Euro Series at there. So we've run it there a couple of times since that announcement. That company specifically told everybody stay away from R24 is basically what they said. That's where they drew their line in the sand.
More to come.
So we basically already covered the next item, so let's jump on down to Brian's, talking about an open letter to iRacing.
Yeah, guys, Gary Larson, he posted in the forums a plea for iRacing to do something to help out with participation in that new IR01 jet car that Mike likes to call series. And he loves his car, Gary does, but he's having issues where he's just not getting the race participation. There are a few races that went official in the last couple of weeks, so they're not even getting enough people to get official races in. And the time slots that apparently these races are taking place in that go official are more Euro-friendly and occur like in the middle of the day during working hours in the U.S., so he's not getting any chance to get any official racing in because of the low participation in this IR01 car. So he posted that on the forums, and Greg West actually replied to the thread where Gary Larson started, and he basically said that there's some exciting things coming up in the series, including a championship series that they hope that they're going to be announcing soon. So it looks like we're going to be getting an IR01 championship series coming up, and hopefully that will help drive some participation. If they dangle a big fat carrot with some cash attached to it, you'll probably get some people signing up to chase that thing.
Yeah, I gave up on this. I mean, I tried real hard for several weeks at the beginning of the season. I found the same thing Gary did, where there were not enough drivers registered to even have an official race. When there was, it was just like 4 or 5 or 6 of us, and it's just hard. I mean, it's hard to run a series when nobody's running it. So it's good to hear that they got something in the works. Hopefully that will drive participation, because if there were 20 cars, man, I'd be all over it, man. It'd be a fun. And so I have a blast when there's a lot of cars out there. But if there's only a handful of cars, I'm like, nah, I don't want to do it.
Well, that Formula car is also it's competing with stock cars on a weeknight in the U.S. time zone. It's also competing with Indy and sports cars, and even the sports car participation goes down in the evening compared to the Euro time zone.
And this kind of brings up the question: how good of an idea was it to make a car that is not a real car? That's not a real life counterpart anywhere. Is that holding this car back to where, even though it might be fun to drive, you don't have any kind of connection with any real world racing that you do with the other licensed series that iRacing has?
That's a good point. It very well could be one of the reasons that participation is low.
It could be, but I think it just comes down to that's not the popular format in the U.S. time zone.
I think if maybe they tied it a little bit to the Formula One schedule, being that iRacing doesn't have a Formula One car, a proper one. Maybe that could drive some kind of a connection. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways that it can connect to something that's real world. That might be the closest thing that they have to a real world version of the IR car.
Well, iRacers Lounge is we're putting our name out in a lot of different places, and one of the next announcements is actually that the Monday Night Fast Track Sim Racing League is now officially sponsored by us. With the first race as their sponsorship being held in the iRacers Lounge Podcast 300 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We got a nice flyer on the script, and a lot of our guys are going to be running it, and I am half tempted with how excited I am about how I've been running at Charlotte to hop in on this one and see if I can sneak up the show.
Yeah, it should be a good time. Nice to be able to, name this race after our iRacers Lounge podcast. Rudy over at Max Speed TV is going to be doing the broadcast. So if you want to see us race, come on out. Greg, you're going to be there with me. Brian will be there, I think. Maybe Mike, if we can talk him into it. Maybe David.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. I look forward to it.
Nights. I'm usually busy on Monday nights running, shaking down the set.
Yeah.
Hey, before we go to Kyle's thing here, Kyle. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off here, but I was just looking up something going back to the word we can't say 24-hour event. The major series is competing it on the same weekend that it's being put on by the other company as well. So they're going to be competing broadcast-wise.
Oh, even better.
So it'll be interesting. But I mean, the other one has all the big names from motorsports on its side.
Let's hope nobody shows up for that other race, right?
They're advertising all kinds of professional drivers on the website for it.
I wonder if they pay them to show up or what. All right, Kyle, what's going on tonight?
All right, so tonight is the inaugural beginning of season 3 of the iRacing iRock Challenge series, and we are taking on Daytona for 200 miles in the trucks. It's a fixed setup race. The neat little thing about it is the format. So if you we're actually racing in stages. So if you win the first 2 stages, or you're the top 3 in the first 2 stages, you will get an EOL and go back to the back, along with getting bonus points, and then have to race your way back up to the front up again. So this way it kind of shuffles it around a little bit, makes competition a little easier, because we do have some extremely dominant guys in there. But on top of that, right now, with the season starting tonight at 9:30 on Ultimate Dirt TV on YouTube, where you can find us, we are giving away a TTE 2080 rig and monitor stand, a $25 raffle. I mean, it's a easy chance to win, a $600-700 rig. I definitely would, put 2 or 3 raffles in if I was you.
Now, I definitely got me a raffle ticket for this, Kyle, because do you have any idea how many raffle tickets they've sold?
No, I can find out, and I'm sure I can update that as soon as I know. Now, it does say that the drawing is June 5th. We are actually going, I believe, to extend that another 2 weeks, possibly to the end of June. I'm actually in the middle of working out that detail as we speak. So that date could change. So once it does, it'll be updated and everybody will know exactly.
And we actually had a guest or a little sneak interview that we pre-recorded, and so we're going to play that right now. All right, good luck tonight in that race, guys.
Appreciate it. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, we got Brian McCubbin along in that league as well.
Go get it, guys. I'm going to be busy tonight, but I might try to watch, or I'll spot or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool, Mike.
More iRacers Lounge community involvement, Tony.
Yeah, next up we got the Project K9 Hero 200 charity race. That's our, both our podcasts, iRacers Lounge and the Aftermath, are putting this one on. It's going to be a multi-car at Michigan. That's going to be the Cup car and the Xfinity car. Going for a great charity. We did this a race for this charity last year, and it turned out really well. Anybody watching the video, I'm actually wearing the t-shirt tonight. But this is all going to go down June 11th at 9 p.m. Eastern, racing at Michigan. Going to be 200 laps with iRacing caution. So I'm just going to let iRacing take care of all that. To get into the race, it's a minimum $25 donation. Do that directly to the Project K9 Hero website. And just make a note that either PK9H200 or Project K9 Hero 200, send us a screenshot directly on Facebook, Discord, email, snail mail, however you want to get it to us. Just get us a screenshot and you're in. $25 gets you into the race. It also gets you a t-shirt similar to the one I imagine that I'm wearing. And prizes. We do have prizes. So we've got spotlights from Midwest Simulations going out to the class winners, and we have U-House Racing Designs paint schemes going out to the pole winner. Believe that's for each class. Yes,
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, it is. That is also for each class, and we're also giving out a $10 iRacing credit for the best paint with the Project K9 Hero logo. What else do we got on for this? I know we haven't firmed up a broadcaster yet, but we're working on that, and we should have that one nailed down here in the next week or two.
Yeah, so I was one of the first ones to sign up for this race. Paid my $25 donation, sent my screenshot over. The Google document link and the donation link are on the script. And so find that over at our website, iRacersLounge.com, guys, and get signed up for this race. So we're giving you plenty of time. Get registered now, pay the $25. So when the date comes, we're ready to go racing.
Hey, Tony, is there any inkling on how many people have signed up?
Yeah.
I have none of that information. I'm just a voice tonight. I really don't know a whole lot about what's going on.
Yeah, Tony Rochette leading the charge there. Thanks, Tony. Let's get into podcast housekeeping notes. Don't forget the Aftermath podcast. Tony, give us a little preview or post view of what happened on the most recent episode.
We had David Hall join us and got to talk a little bit about his first commentary session with us with the ladies race we did a couple weeks ago. It was pretty fun podcast. We're glad to have you on, David. Definitely check it out. David, you got any words? How would you think of your coming on with us knuckleheads?
It's pretty enjoyable. It's a different environment. I like being able to go more in depth in things, even though I get to say what I want here too. But we could really just kind of shoot the shit. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we enjoyed having you on for sure.
All right, check that, guys. And there's also a link on the script for the Android people out there who need to find our podcast at Google's podcast platform. I found that link finally. And yeah, we've been there the whole time. I didn't even know it. Don't forget, we give a 10% off at Midwest Simulations if you use the coupon code iRacers Lounge. We are still at the Performance Motorsports Network and now Fantasy.
I am totally unprepared this week. I didn't even watch one lap of the race. I did get my picks in, and I was also able to get my garage swap done before the end of stage 2. But I did not watch a single lap of this race. I was out at my trailer just enjoying the day. But looks like I've got myself up into the top 5. How did that happen? I kind of lucked out. The rain helped a lot of us out. I noticed that. But a quick run down to the top 5 just in time. And Res Dog, those two guys, I'm just, not surprised. I think they were in that position about this time last year. Oh Baby 44 is in 3rd. Scotty Boy is 4th place. TG1 Racing, myself, is in 5th. And Jedi McFly is sucking a lot less this week. He's very close in 6th place. But what is it? We've got the 600 this week. It's going to be a good one. I got to imagine a lot of the main guy, quote unquote, whatever the heck that means this year, those picks are starting to get a little bit slim. Like the Kyle Larsons, the Chases, I guess Hendrick as a whole, they've been running pretty strong. Kyle Busch and Kevin Hart's gonna make a go somewhere. I don't know if you'd really want to use him this week here. Might be good to save him, but Denny Hamlin. How many picks of those guys you got left?
So isn't this your MO to make comebacks halfway through the season?
Yeah, generally.
Watch out, guys.
So I'm still hovering in the low 30s, which is terrible. But I can rest happy this week. I actually won the week, and I can't believe I actually won a week. So if I finish 32nd for the whole week season, I don't care. I won at least 1 week, and I'm good with that.
You know what? I think somebody had. I can't believe I didn't mention that. I honestly I did forget it because I didn't see that myself. But you totally should have screenshotted that. We could have, put it on a plaque for you and, present it to you at the end of the season. That's awesome, Brian. And, Tony's doing a really good job of trying to get to where you're at. But you keep knocking out these first placings. I mean, we've got a lot of road courses, so that could very well get you up into the top 10, maybe a little more.
Yeah, I had a rough day, 32nd for the week, while Brian wins it. Chris was 4th. Tyler was 6th, or tied for 6th, so good runs for them. Okay, we are talking hardware, software. First up, a company review. It's called Pure Sims. It's pure-sims.com. And they have something for all your sim racing needs, from products from Cube Control, Sim Labs, SimiCube, and more. What do you guys think about this new one we found? They even have next day delivery, it says.
Not from the UK.
Right. If you're in the UK, yeah, it makes sense. But have the P1X. You can buy it directly from them. They also have hydraulic pedals, direct drive wheels, you name it. Cube Control, Formula style wheels, Sparco seats. We've seen a lot of storefronts out of the UK. This is just another one.
Do any of our guys have Huskinville pedals at the moment?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, for those of you who do, but like to have them inverted, SimSeats is offering a new solution where you can invert them. And we've got a tweet here showing their introduction of it. Looks like it'll get the job done.
It's a pretty big contraption, though. And I don't really understand the idea of inverting the clutch and the brake, but not the throttle. What's the idea there?
The Fanatec's are the same way.
Oh,
Exactly. Yeah. That's how they are in a real car, right? The throttle pedals mounted underneath.
I see.
Yeah, it depends on the street car. Most of the ones I've had have been been mounted all inverted. But if you ever actually just look down sitting in the Ferrari with your VR, you'll notice that those pedals are not inverted. They're all on the ground.
This is a nice bolt-on solution, though, that allows you to mount from the top, the bottom, or a combination, however you want to do it, with probably any kind of pedals you can buy. They don't have to be specifically, I think, the Housekeeping build, but pretty cool. You could bolt this onto your rig and you'd be set.
If it's the way you like for it to feel, this is a way to go. I would be nervous about getting the inverts because I'm so used to them being on the ground that I don't know if it would actually be one of those not broke, don't fix it kind of situations.
I'm really impressed how well all the pedals line up. You would think with something that was made like this, you might get the pedals not lining up quite right, or the heights being a little different. But man, they're just they fit across there just perfectly lined up.
Yeah, it probably took some engineering to get these just right, like you said, and they do look pretty nice. Sim Seats is known for some fabulous cockpits. They're the ones that always do the steering wheel extension arm into the wheelbase and have the wheelbase down by your feet.
And they do have some adjustability, look like, to go left and right with the pedals too, so you can space them out differently if you like that.
Brian, why can't we have nice things?
Well, according to the Sim Channel's YouTube video, they break down the pricing structure of that new Fanatec CSL direct drive wheelbase. So if you guys remember, they had the original price point. I forgot what it was. I think it was at
$350.
$350, right? That's the original price point. And then they have the addition of a more powerful power supply that cranks up the Newton meter strength of this direct drive, for an extra price. And I think I didn't personally see it, but the Sim Channel basically says that there's been a lot of complaints about that this addition kind of it's just different ways of manipulating pricing or something like that. And he really goes through the pricing structure, how this is actually a good thing to have this option. Some are saying that it should just been the higher Newton meter and just made a higher price. But yeah, I think, and one of the things he compared it to was like the DD1 versus DD2, having basically the same motor, but a lot of people were really excited about the DD1 because you could get the same motor and everything. The strength was a little less, but the price dropped quite a bit. So so he goes through all those pricing structures and really explains why this actually is the better way for Fanatec to do this, to keep prices variable and give you more options to what you want to get.
Yeah, I've seen the complaints. I mean, the Fanatec forums, the Facebook groups, people talking, hey, they're selling a dumbed down version. They're throttling this thing down, and charging you the lower price. But I agree with the video ops assessment, though. This is good for the consumer because to have that entry level price point, so to get them hooked, and then hey, they want a little bit more, they can spend some more and get a beefier power supply. I think it provides a clear upgrade path as well, and I'm happy with Fanatec's pricing. I think they're going to really disrupt the market with this product.
How about this wheel, Kyle?
So we've actually got a Canadian company called Grid Engineering, who has their own line of sim products. And look at their website; they've got a lot of neat things. The one thing that I was interested in was the button box, and these things are flashy. Everything they got looks of really good quality. They offer wheels, SimLab cockpits, SimLab accessories, monitor mounts, racing gear, pedal sets, and electronics, along with, as they call it, their dash consoles. I recommend everyone go on their website. It's grid-engineering.com and check out their products. Everything's also based on US dollars as well, so no need to convert there. It looks like a pretty good company with a really high-end quality.
Wow, that wheel though, they're selling a Formula wheel there, $2,150. I mean, it looks nice and all, but man, that price, wow, that's high. But the button boxes, like you said, they have a real unique kind of design to them. They're not the normal rectangle, right, Kyle?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Those button boxes, they're not the regular rectangle button box. They got a weird shape to them.
Yeah, not at all. One is like all, and it starts off wide at the top and narrows down at the bottom. And the other one's got some kind of weird curvature to it. It looks really neat and flashy, especially for someone who likes to have a nice looking rig. It would go great with that. It's a lot different than just your standard rectangular square button box.
Yeah, those are designed to look like they're from an actual car, right?
Yeah, like your center console or something.
Yeah, we've actually seen these before from a different company, but I remember, I do remember talking about them because the price point just sticks out to me.
Yeah, it looks like these guys are retailing products from several different other companies and putting them together in another storefront. The pedals are pretty high too.
Yeah, and they even have a page here for SimLab. You can get the P1X apparently from them, so they're reselling, like you said.
That's a good thing that they got a little thing on there about us saying that they're located in Canada, because according to their website, anywhere, I would never have guessed that.
So is there an advantage, Tony, in buying from a company like this in Canada? Like, if you wanted to buy the SimLab rig, would you buy it directly from SimLab, or would it be better to buy from a reseller that's located in Canada due to duty and that kind of stuff?
A lot of the time, it's actually better just to go to the just go to the source. Once these guys get them across the border, get them up here, and then they tack their money on it, you're usually paying more for it. I only got Simulation 1 a couple hours away from Greg and I here in Toronto, but the prices are just retarded. You can just get it right from the manufacturer, and you typically you could save yourselves. It's not a whole lot, but save yourself a little bit.
It might depend on the shipping though, because that international shipping was a couple $100, and they took a while too when I ordered my SimLab rig. Yeah.
Well, there's that. But if you want to pay an extra $300-400 so you can get it sooner, then I guess there's those options.
I don't think you can get this next rig, Tony, from SimLabs.
No, I don't think you can. But this is this is really dumb. But it's kind of a novel idea, I guess you could say. This rig setup is done up in the back of someone's car. It looks like they chopped down like a
Ford
minivan.
Windstar.
Yeah, there you go.
Or Aerostar. It's probably Aerostar.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. 6 of 1. Yeah, they just took the whole top off, and they mounted a screen right behind the driver passenger, and a couple of guys sitting in the far back with their rigs all set up, steering wheels. So backseat drivers taking that to the next level.
That's crazy.
I think the more
It's also
impressive,
ugly.
the more impressive part is the gutters exhaust that they got out the back there, East Trough that they're using. It's not. I'm wondering how safe this vehicle is. Like, obviously, back at whatever year that is, it's not a unibody, so probably cutting it up didn't totally take. Like, I'd hope that they built some rigidity into that, because taking the roof off, you kind of lose all integrity of that vehicle if it's not beefed up. But it just,
Well, if you
Dude,
look,
they got
it's
roll
a
bars.
cage.
yeah, but it's
There's no windshield.
yeah, it's not really. Well, it wouldn't be street legal in Canada. I'm guessing it's somewhere in the States.
Yeah, we're only dumb enough to do that.
Well, I just know it's different laws.
If you're the guy driving the sim in the back, and they're driving down the road in the actual van, and the van takes a left, does that kind of mess you up? You know, because you're trying to go right and the van's going left. Yeah, that would be weird.
Two different sets of audio cues going on. You hear a car coming up. Is it in the sim or, or the actual car?
What about the nausea factor? Like, moving on the screen and then the world moving on the outside. I think you might get a little seasick.
And then if they have an accident, they can actually just say, hey, the spotter said clear.
And what they ought to do is, you want those side-by-sides that they show on YouTube. Take this thing to the track on the sim, see who can race faster. Now you don't need two cars to race.
There you go. All right, next up is K-Fire Racing. This is a Brazilian company that makes F1-inspired racing rigs. And I found them over on Instagram, and they put up a cool-looking photo of their rig. And it's got the Mercedes gray and colors, big old Mercedes logo on the front, a Formula-style wing even on the front. But the way this thing looks is the cockpit is like a large arc kind of thing, with like I said, with a Formula One kind of wing on the front, seat, and a center posted steering wheel, as well as a place for the pedals mounted on top of the arc. Kind of give it a unique look. I mean, it sure looks kind of cool.
That center post is awful, though. How are you going to get to the clutch without having to have a arched foot, right, or arched leg?
Well, I think you're right. The center post kills it, right?
I thought the price that they're saying on the thing kills it. Like, this is, how is this any different than a play seat? Obviously, the only thing that's different is the fact that you're paying for the Mercedes symbol on it. Like, why would you spend that kind of money?
Just trying to see how much it costs. There's several different numbers here, but I don't know what denomination that is.
Is that a European spelling for euro?
Well, Brazilian real, I think. So if you convert it, 2780, or yeah, it says 2790 Brazilian real to US equals what? $530 US. So $500 rig. I don't know.
It's not that bad, I guess.
I'd probably pass.
I still would say stay away from anything with a center post.
Right.
So this next one we got to cover before we move on. 45 set pedal comparison. I think we should be putting a link to this on the website. I already put that in there. This is neat. It's a Google sheet. I don't know if you can edit it. I didn't try, but you can always make a copy of it yourself if you want to edit it later. It's got 45 pedals, and it has everything you want to know about each pedal, comparison by price, whether there's import duties, how you name it, it's got it on the columns. We talk about a lot of hardware, but something like this is great because it's all there in one place. You don't have to dig through 5 different sets of show notes to find that pedal that we talked about last year, right?
This is awesome. And as you scroll the different columns, he's got every kind of feature that listed, yes, no, if they have the feature or not. So you could sort it. You could say, you know what, I want to see only hydraulic brakes. And then you could sort the down to which ones. This is fascinating. This guy's really taken it to the next level by documenting, probably everywhere you can buy pedals. I kind of looked through this list, and we've talked about every one of these at some point on this show. So I don't think I'm missing any. But you're right. Let's get this on the website for sure and link to it. Now, the guy who put this together and put it out on the forums is Aaron Maspero from the UK. So well done, Aaron.
I think it's Aaron, right?
Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron really put a lot of work into this, and it's pretty cool to see how much information he put on this and how you can isolate it based on what you're looking for. It's really cool, and kudos to Aaron for putting in a lot of work and making a great list.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was trying to do with the sequential shifters, but this is a whole nother level of documentation. Well done.
I mean, can you imagine the time to do all this research?
Well, somebody in the thread asked him about that, and he said, I sit in meetings 8 hours a day. I have plenty of time.
Right, because the funny thing was he originally made this list because he's looking for pedals, and he said he just didn't have time to keep working on the current ones that he had because he kept having to repair them. And the guy's like, well, if you didn't have time for your pedals, how'd you have time to do all this data collection?
Okay, very good. If you're buying pedals, what a resource, man. I wish I had that when I was buying. Let's talk results. NASCAR iRacing Series. Let's finish up last week. The Circuit of the Americas, Friday night. Greg, you got a nice P8, uneventful.
It wasn't too bad. It was basically, once it got started and strung out, I was basically by myself pretty much the whole race. So I didn't really see anybody else much, and you know me in the road courses. I tend to just finish up in the top 10 and get a good finish out of it.
All right, very good. David, P10, an idiot-free event.
Yeah, basically we had less drama, right? So I was hanging in there about a quarter of a lap behind Greg, I think, when we finished up. And yeah, there was a turn. The turn one was a little shady, but both the guys, I was stuck in the middle of a 3 wide because everybody was avoiding a wreck, but we all did a good job of giving each other room. So I kind of let that guy go that gave a lot of room and managed to run him back down a few laps later. But I did a favor because he did a favor, and we all did a good job of getting through there, nice and clean. I liked Coda when I got to race it with an unbroken car. It was fun.
All right, and Sunday Fixed, I got a P11. I started P4, actually, but faded. Got a drive-through and finished with 20X. Was really trying for a top 10 there. The qualifying was surprising. I had a nice lap, and not very many people qualified, so I was able to start up front and stay up front, and that was fun. Greg, you ran with me, but a different split, I think, and you got a P5.
Yeah, just another race. The car setup wasn't like great again. Like it was the we didn't have a great setup that was long run, but I was able to eke out a decent finish there and get another top 10, top 5 at a road course.
Yeah, you didn't qualify either, and so
no, that
starting P20.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't qualify in that one. Yeah, so I drove. That was the eventful one. That was the one I drove through the field. And I just, if I would have qualified, I probably would have been a lot better.
Yeah, at a road course, when you don't qualify, it costs you. Even though you get all that time, you still have to use up the car making it around people and take longer on those laps than you do if you have less traffic to fight.
All right, let's jump to the longest race of the year, the Charlotte Coke 600. David Hall, P14.
Yeah, top split. We had only one caution around lap 50 or so, and then it just ran green the whole way out. It was funny, all the guys that kept coming on the radio complaining about no cautions. And I was like, dude, people, shut up. Probably should have finished P12. I don't know if it was because I do know I got to practice the green flag pit stops because I was losing some time there. But I also was running every stint 60 or 70 laps, and a lot of other people were short pitting about 50. Pitted one more time than me, but it ended up working out about the same after 350 laps. It kind of balanced out. And
it took you like 4 hours when you were done, right?
Yeah, and that was running a clean race, right?
Wow.
And at this point, they had fixed the aero issue, so the car was actually really nice on the long and short run.
Okay, Kyle, you got a P24.
Yeah, I started out P4 and I kind of fell back there for a little bit to right around the top 10, maybe right outside top 10 for a bit. And I ended up going a lap down. The leader he was uncatchable. I mean, he just pulled a lead that no one could even come close to and ended up getting lapped after, he pitted lap 50 and I waited till lap 66 to pit. I held second place there for a bit. And then once I came out from my pit, he had done caught up enough to get around me to lap me. And so I basically held a lap down for about 10 laps and then got the lucky dog, came back. And I ran top 10 almost, I think I got P4's the highest I got up to. And I just, I got involved in a wreck. It was about lap 240 that I was actually avoiding a wreck, and a guy didn't check up and just slammed the back end of me. And the car just went to junk after that. And I couldn't keep it under control. And I staying out for about 10 laps, and I just couldn't control the car. So I smacked the outside wall, and of course it shot me down to the inside wall, and that was it. So I got rage quit after that, and it was right at about midnight. So I checked the results, and I'm getting a P24.
Damn, after such a long race, too.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't run. I actually was at a high school graduation last night. I'll run Friday night, one and done kind of thing, probably. Let's move on to the Open Indy 500. Tony Rochette was trying to back up his last year's win, and he had an internet connection issue and actually got dropped from the race. So bummer for Tony. David, you got a P11.
Yeah, I was on with him that morning, and he had been running between first and third the whole race pretty well. P11, I was and I ran a race last week too. I think it fell on. I ran two, and I don't remember both results, but in both results, I was kind of mid-front pack, and it was the top split with the non-qualifiers and the bottom split of the qualifiers. So there was 500 iRating guys in there and 6,000 iRating guys in there. So we'd take it really easy early on, and then run hard towards the end. All the top iRatings would get up towards the front. I don't know if this is the best option for slapping those two groups together or not. It didn't cause a whole lot of problems. Most of the slower guys were gone and out of the way pretty quick. But I almost wonder if it would be better to have the splits only qualifiers and only non-qualifiers.
Not a bad idea.
Dave, you went back over 4K, did you, Dave?
That was last night, yeah.
Cool, congratulations.
After the Charlotte, not Roval, but Charlotte run.
That's an all-time high?
It may be, because I think I was just barely over. This time I cleared it by quite a bit. And I'm still sitting P5 in the points as well overall, all divisions.
Wow.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, to be P5 at this point in the season, yeah, you're kicking butt here. Let's jump to leagues. Fast Track Sim Racing League was Monday at COTA. And the unique thing about this race, Greg, was no incident limits at all. So we kind of drove this a different race. Tell us about your P2.
It was started a second and never saw anybody after that. The leader just drove away and I stayed in second, and I drove away. I think I was 20, I want to say almost 30 seconds ahead of third, and the other guy put like 20 seconds on me. So but I think I won for most incident limit. Then find out at the end of the race that they have incident limits show up in their actual standings. So I lead now the incident limits in their standings, and I've only raced one race.
So they ran it like the Pro Series invite, right? Where incident cap was off.
Yeah, so I had 100
incident caps, and so
135 incidents. I think I said I had.
I don't even know how you did that. I did only like 40 something, and I was trying to go off or go wide and different things, but yeah, you more than tripled what I was doing.
Well, there's so many places you can really abuse the track if you don't have to worry about those track limits. It's like Spa. Remember when they had all the problems with the incident cap off, and everybody went down to like a D license from A license after running 24 hours?
Right. So I got a P11 out of 17 starters. I did have an EOL at the beginning of the race because I missed practice. But I actually got quite a few spots on that first turn, first lap kind of thing. At one point, though, I think it was just a few laps in, my shifter stopped working, and I was stuck in second gear. It literally wouldn't go up or down, my paddle shifters. So what did I do? I actually stopped on the track just outside turn one, turned my wheel off, turned my wheel back on, and continued. Lost several spots from that. The other thing I noticed about this race was as I came down to the white and the checker, I realized there's two flagmen at this track. Does anyone know why we have two Barneys?
Well, some of the road courses, there's actually local yellows. So if there's a yellow in the area, sometimes you can actually see a flagman waving a yellow.
Well, it wasn't like this. I mean, it was on the front stretch. There's a flagman kind of before the start-finish line, and there's one at the start-finish line, maybe 100 yards apart. I just thought it was odd. I have no idea why there's two of them. Next, the OBRL iRacers Lounge Podcast Aftermath Truck Series was won at Charlotte Motor Speedway by Tom Ogle. Winning. Congratulations. Dwayne MacArthur second. Andrew Hess third.
Dwayne probably going to wind up being in the charity Project Canine race. He's going to be tough.
Well, especially the way he's always on the podium, it seems like, with this truck series. So, like you said, yeah, he's going to be tough.
Tell him to run the B car.
There you go. Final thoughts, Brian McCubbin. What do you got?
All right, guys. So last night, our teammate Tyler Williamson was with me, and we were messing around a little bit. We went and picked up a practice session of the next gen Cup car at Charlotte. And if you guys have not run that car on a 1.5 mile super speedway yet, it's not good. It's not good at all. You were flooring it the whole way around. You can run any line you want while flooring it, at least until your tires wear off. You can run the blue line. The Charlotte has the blue line instead of the yellow at the bottom. You can run that whole line at the bottom and wide open, and you can stick it to the bottom. You don't even wash up at the exit of 2 and 4. And then him and I were racing, nose to tail, where we were drafting off each other. And, the lead car does the same thing. You can hold it wide open, run any line. And then the car right behind him, gets super tight. You got to lift to stay behind the car in front of you, because you start washing up the track. Once the nose gets off the front of your car, I guess, and it tightens up quite a bit. That's not going to make for good racing, I don't think. And the horse, it's way underpowered, I think, and it's got too much downforce. And if this translates to how it actually runs in NASCAR, it's not going to fix any of the problems that a lot of people have been complaining about with the way NASCAR runs right now. It's going to be worse. So if you get a chance, just go try it out for a few laps, see what you think. But I don't like the way this races at all, and I hope they make some adjustments to it with either downforce or horsepower to get it to run more competitively. It's the easiest thing they've ever driven, first time out especially, and it reminded me of Charlotte, where you're on the floor and you can move around the track anywhere you want. And I recommend trying it out and see what you guys think. See if you agree.
Yeah. Tell NASCAR what you think is what. I mean, they're the ones who make the decisions on this crap. But I've told them. I've told them what I think. I mean, I've driven the car. I bought it over the weekend, and I got my paint on it, and it looks pretty. I'll tell you that. But that's about it.
Yeah.
I ran it around the track, and I'm thinking, where's the power? I ran it at COTA. After running our normal A car all week at COTA, and was really used to that. And all I can think is it's underpowered. It's underpowered.
Yeah, and when I first got it, I tried it out at Darlington, and that's such a odd track the way it drives. It's really not a good sample of how it's going to run at these 1.5 miles, which is like the predominant tracks on the schedule. So yeah, I hope it's not. I hope it's not real life the way it is in iRacing, and if it isn't, I hope iRacing fixes it to match it. But I really do recommend trying it out and see what you guys think.
Yeah, and I hope NASCAR, takes this opportunity to see what the feedback is from people like us to make some decisions about the engine. So I hope they're listening. David Hall, final thought.
And I just kind of jump on the same bandwagon. You have to have time off the throttle to have racing, really. And even though I succeed at plate racing, I don't enjoy it. Especially, I don't even like watching it that much. It's just I'd rather see them have to actually get off the throttle, use the brakes. And I know they're wanting smaller engines. They're not necessarily wanting the big block engines. I watched a video recently comparing how F1 cars would run with Indy cars at the 500, right? And those cars, they spend crazy amounts of money on engineering, but they're running little V6 1.7 cc or liter engines that are super turbocharged and put out 1,000 horsepower, right? Is it 1.6? Okay, well, but small little engine, but it's a beast. So put the smaller engine on, supercharge it, and make them have to lift. Take away the downforce too, and then you're not going so fast that they're turned upside down, right? Or just go to short tracks and just get rid of all the 1.5-milers.
They might have enough power if they take off all the downforce, so we have to drive the dang thing. All right, Greg Hectus, final thought.
Well, let's see if this even goes through, since my internet seems to be I think I have Brian's internet today, because it is taking a crash, and I don't know what it's doing, but I'm dropping frames left, right, and center, and I don't understand for this, but just looking forward to the 600 tomorrow night, and some road racing on the weekend. I don't think I'm gonna do 2 600s. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to run fixed on Sunday. I might. I haven't decided, but definitely running Friday.
IMSA is at Amola, and Euro is at Twin Ring.
Okay, Kyle Pendergraft, final thought.
Actually, I've got two final thoughts real quick here. The first one, I want to say Happy Memorial Day to everybody coming up. Thank you to all the veterans out there. This day is for you. Everyone else, please enjoy your weekends and have fun. Second thing is tonight we are kicking off the iRacing iRock Challenge Series race. So if you can't make it live to the event on YouTube on Ultimate Dirt TV, be sure to check it out on their page. It'll be available once the race is over as well. So with that being said, that's all I got.
All right, I hope I win that raffle. My final thoughts, I'm Coke 600. It's a little long for me. I'm not a fan of the long races. I really like the half distance ones. My back is just going to be toast after 4 hours. But, I've been running this series forever, and I'm going to keep running it. And I have one of the most starts out of everybody. So I need that start. I need those points. I need to get my points for the week and get out. And